the street from here. The Russians didn't kill George Floyd. The Russians didn't have to put up with fire hoses and electric prods of dust for trying to vote. The Russians couldn't teach me anything about that because I don't think the Russians had that experience. We had that experience, so the Russians couldn't possibly have been responsible for putting us in motion and giving us direction. So I wanted to say that, and how important it is to be here. Some of you I've known a very long time, and that's important because you bear witness to part of what I'm talking about, not just in terms of history and general history, but specific history as it relates to the struggle right here in this city and how that relates to the overall struggle of Black people and oppressed peoples around the world. So we are engaged in a struggle, and we left St. Petersburg, and we have, when I say we left St. Petersburg, I don't mean we abandoned St. Petersburg, because this building couldn't be here if that were the case, couldn't be a radio station here if that were the case. The fact is that when I say we left, I mean, we went on an organizing mission. And this mission to take the Black revolution around the world, because what we learned is in the struggle we were involved in, that the Black revolution had run into its limitations when it was simply locked into the artificial borders that have been imposed on us by colonial powers. There is not going to be a St. Petersburg revolution. There is not going to be an American revolution. There's a world revolution, and Africa is a part of it. And we recognize that we are the U.S. front of the African revolution, just as in Mali, there's the Mali front, there's the Haitian front of the same revolutionary project that we're all involved in. And that's where freedom is going to be located. So we've traveled all around this country and all around the world, building what we've learned from, starting right here, what we learned starting right here. And so you will see the same kind of movement in various provinces in South Africa, the African People's Socialist Party. You will see the African People's Socialist Party in England. You will see the African People's Socialist Party in France. You will see the African People's Socialist Party in Namibia, the African People's Socialist Party in Ghana and Sierra Leone, and various other places like that. And we're in the Caribbean as well. So we've taken this revolutionary project out. It wasn't in the Russians. We didn't have any help from Russians. I didn't know that the Russians were giving that kind of help. And so this whole notion that somehow we were employed by the Russians to demand reparations. We ran two candidates for office in this city, 2017 and 2019. We ran Akile Anayi for city council. And her slogan had to do with smashing gentrification, because they're pushing Black people out. And we predicted during that campaign, in 2 or 3 years, Black people will be pushed out of the city, won't be able to afford to live here, and that's come to bear. That's what we're looking at today. We ran this election demanding reparations. We said unity through reparations because people like to talk about unity. We want unity too. We want all the white people to unite with our demand for reparations so that we can live in peace. That's the most fundamental self-criticism that the white population can make. So it's not that we oppose to unity, but unity through reparations. Why not? As opposed to simply sucking the resources and sucking the blood from this community, then why don't you contribute to this working class being able to live? And so that's part of what it is that we have done, that they've accused the Russians of being responsible for. They said the Russians, I went to Moscow twice in 2015. They said the Russians, when I went to Moscow, that's evidence of my being an employee of the Russians. But they didn't say that I was also in Belfast, Ireland in 1982, when the British had colonial domination of those white people in Ireland. I was there side by side with them. I got the Irish Republican Socialist Party to go on national television and say that we unite with Black people having reparations in the United States, and we oppose the genocide that's been committed against Black people. And they also said we will not take any money from any Irish person in the United States if they do not support the Black liberation movement. That happened in 1982. So the Russians didn't say the Russians were responsible for that. They didn't talk about how in 2007, I spoke in Huelva in Spain. And actually to an international audience, people from all around the world. There were representatives from the United Nations there. There was people from the Spanish government was there, and I spoke at the behest of a non-governmental organization in Spain. So they would liquidate all of this history. And so suddenly I'm supposed to be working for Russia today, doing the same thing I've always been doing, and the same thing they've hated me for doing, the same thing they've attacked us for doing, the same thing they attacked Garvey for doing, the same thing they attacked Du Bois for doing, the same thing they attacked Paul Robeson for doing, the same thing they attacked Nkrumah for doing, the same thing they attacked Lumumba for doing, the same thing they attacked Che Guevara for doing. And that is recognizing this relationship of colonized people around the world and the fact that united we can fight and we can win, we can succeed, because all of the success that the colonizers have rests upon the foundation of our enslavement as colonized peoples around the world. So you ready?
I am.
Okay, so I'm opening up. I just wanted to say those things. I think it's important. I won't be able to say much of this later on, but this is who we are. This is what's got us in motion. I did not join this struggle to get out of prison, to keep me out of prison. I joined this struggle because Black people normally, historically, locked up into prison. First, they call it slavery, and then after slavery, they call it the chain gang and other things like that. But historically, we've been locked into this prison system. That's what I'm fighting against. And that's what all of us have to fight against. It's not enough just to keep the Uhuru free out of jail. Because even if we succeed in keeping the Uhuru free out of jail, we still got the prison system, we still got the colonial system that keeps Black people oppressed all the time. Nat Turner in 1831, I think it was, Nat Turner led a rebellion against slavery. His slogan was, "Strike at night and spare no one," which was a lovely slogan, because everybody who engages in selling Black people and oppressing Black people should not be spared. They can save themselves by joining the Uhuru movement, but at the moment, as long as they're participating in slavery, there's no reason for them to survive this thing. And more people are becoming conscious of that, and they're moving away from slavery to unite with the peoples of the world. That's what we are calling on people to do. So they put Nat Turner on trial after they finally captured him. And after they put him on trial, they found him guilty. But the thing is, if they had found Nat Turner not guilty, he still would have been enslaved. And that's the contradiction we're looking at right now. It's not about keeping me out of prison. It's about getting rid of a system that locks up millions of people around the world, takes life away, destroys the environment, threatens the world with nuclear conflagration, et cetera, for profit at the expense of the vast majority of the world. It's a parasitic social system. That's what it's about. Thank you, comrades. Uhuru. Thank you.
Uhuru. When I say Uhuru, you say Uhuru. 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 It's the Swahili word, it means freedom. And when we talk about freedom, we're not just talking about, some arbitrary idea of freedom. It's a real thing. It's the freedom to be self-determining, to determine how your life is going to look, how your children's life is going to look. And they're threatening the freedom of our chairman. Your chairman, Omali Yeshitela, who's been fighting for 60 years, more than 60 years, to keep us in political life. And that's the significance of you and me and everyone being here at this moment. So we want to start off, and my name is Jainaba, and I am a member of the African People's Socialist Party. I'm the technology specialist. I'm grateful because we were able to get everybody connected, and I really salute you for being here, and salute your patience in working with us, because we don't have the same access to the same types of resources that you might find at CNN and Fox, who are dedicated 24/7 to pushing these ideas that Africans deserve, or it's a normal for us to be subjugated and in these positions. It's normal for us to be walking around doing whatever Jeff Bezos assigns us. It's normal for us to be in these positions, and we know it's not true. So just wanted to give a real salute to my leadership, your leadership, the leader of the African Nation, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, for being here today. Speaking of the war on ideas, we find that it comes in different types of forms, And we would, on the program, we have the African National Fight Song that is scheduled to be played, but I want to just say, due to some of the technical issues that we're having, you know, one of our leaders, my direct leadership is, you know, pregnant and is currently in the hospital. So we're going to just be making sure that, you know, we push forward through this program. And just to talk a little bit about the comrade, we had another comrade who wrote the African National Fight Song. It goes into the war on ideas because we hear songs all the time, you know, about oppressing African people. And it comes in an interesting way because I remember there's a song called Oh Susanna. And that song was actually remixed by African people and that were working, and we remixed it to become an anti-colonial revolutionary song that Africans would sing while they were escaping and running to freedom. And you know, so we talk about this war of ideas, we talk about media and how it operates. And all of that kind of ties back into the colonial perspective. These are songs that white people used to sing about subjugating me, subjugating my grandmother, subjugating African people all over the world. And this was just a normal kind of thing. So we developed the African National Fight Song. And in this song, we are saluting Jean-Jacques Dessalines. We say the words Kupete Bulekai. So who knows what that means? Tell somebody say what it means.
Cut heads,
burn houses. I was talking earlier about, you know, the political significance of Haiti, of Haiti, and of the people of Haiti, what the revolution really meant, whose ass really got kicked during that time, and what the implications were, not only for, you know, the colonizers who, you know, were running with their tails tucked between their legs back to France, but also what that meant for the Africans here and how that agitated us and how we were always involved in political life. If you are going to have a colonizer, you're always going to have the colonizer. And you're going to always have resistance because this is not a normal state despite what they tried to convince us of. So I just want to get into the next segment of the program. We have Penny Hess, who's going to come and speak. And I want to just say one thing. I always keep this book on me. This is the quotations from Chairman Omali Yeshitela. And I like it because it kind of summarizes some things. It summarizes them in a way I think that is easily digestible for the masses. But I do encourage you to get the chairman's books as well, because these are quotes from the books and from some of the speeches. And I'm gonna read one about the nation, just because we're talking about the African nation fight song. And I just want to make sure that for everybody, we're clear on who the African nation is. And I think that it's relevant. Do you think so, Tim?
I think it's relevant.
This is, if anyone has this, it's on page 42, and it says, "We believe that all Black people are African people and are part of a single national entity. And we believe that the genuine freedom of African people everywhere is irreversibly linked to the creation of an independent, united, and socialist Africa." And it goes further, and it says, "We are not a race, but a nation of people scattered across the globe and defined out of history by our imperialist oppressors, partially through the concept of race. Our national homeland has been occupied in various ways for millennia. Our people have been captured and forcibly dispersed around the world, and our labor forcibly extracted to build the European nation and world capitalist system that define our reality and the contours of the struggle we've been engaged in for the last 500 years. And that includes the reference earlier, Jeff Bezos's basements across America, you know. And so where does that leave the question of white people? Well, it's answered in the book. this is on page 104. It's titled White People and the Question of Solidarity. I think it's relevant. It says, we believe that if white people would become a part of humanity and end their separation from the human family, they would have the ability to unite with the struggle of African people around the world. It says that we believe that peace is possible and there can be tranquility, but there is a price that has to be paid for it. There has to be genuine justice in the world for that to occur. Justice is defined by the interests of the oppressed peoples being realized in the world. And the significance is that when you hear people talk politically about world and globe economics and things going on in the world stage, there's no whisper, no peep. Nobody's talking about Africa, but behind closed doors. And sometimes right in the news, they speak about it as if it's normal. And so it's the formation of the African People Solidarity Committee, the genius of, I almost said my grandfather, the genius of our chairman, Chairman Omali Shatella, to find a way to answer the question of white people and their position and how they can become a part of society in a way that's really meaningful. So I'll bring up Comrade Penny Hess to speak more on this. Uhuru, Comrade.
Ooh, wow, what an amazing introduction. That was very profound. And I just want to salute you, Janeva, and I want to salute my leadership, Chairman Omali Shatella, and everybody that is here today for this very important rally. And I do want to say that I am the chair of the African People's Solidarity Committee, the organization of white people that was formed by Chairman Omali Shatella and the African People's Socialist Party way back in 1976, and I was there then, and I'm still here because African people haven't won yet. The struggle is not over, and we still have to fight. And that the work of APSC is to send white people into the white community as part of the strategy of the African People's Socialist Party to win African liberation. So we are a strategic organization with a mission to win other white people to recognize that we live in a social system that is built and still formed today on the assault on Africa, the kidnapping of African human beings for hundreds of years, and the theft of the land of the indigenous people and the genocide of the indigenous people, that is still true today. And it is what the chairman has called the colonial mode of production, because colonialism isn't something from the past, it is the essence of the system we live in. Without colonialism, without the suffering of others, white people would not have what they have today. And it is, in fact, the resistance of African and colonized peoples around the world that is creating the political crisis and economic crisis that we're facing. And I did want to say also that I am one of the Uhuru Three. The Uhuru Three is Chairman Omali Shatella, myself, and Jesse Neville, chair of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. And it's very important or significant that the target of this attack is the chairman, is the African Liberation Movement. And they targeted Jesse and myself as a way to attack the party, to be able to try to bring about the kind of isolation that they wanted to force on the African Liberation Movement in the 1960s, following the assassinations of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and crushing the Black Panther Party and the leaders of the revolution in that period. So this is a continuation of that. And that I just want to say a little bit, if I have a couple of minutes here, to say what we are charged with. They are saying that, first of all, they're charging us with a violation of the law 18 U.S. Code section, whatever it is, 951, which has hardly ever been used at this. Let me just say this, first of all, that the indictment against the Uhuru 3, and we are under indictment, we're facing trial in just 58 days from now, and September 3rd, we hope, we want to call on everybody to be out there. We're going to have a big mobilization on August 31st, on Saturday, August 31st. I also want to just say that we salute and stand with Leonard Peltier, who must be free, and the Leonard Peltier Committee has really participated and been a strong member of Hands Off Uhuru since the very beginning. And we know that, you know, there's no freedom until Indigenous people are free. And when Indigenous people are free, they're going to put a whole other crew of people in prison. And Leonard Peltier is going to be, yeah, and Leonard Peltier is going to be free and is a leader. And so they are not charging us with any violence, any fraud, anything. The only thing that they're charging us for is our speech, our words, our words. This is very significant and it's very important. And they're saying that suddenly, because we know the chairman was here in the 1960s, he led the organization called JOMO, the Black Power organization. He formed the African People's Socialist Party in 1972, African People's Solidarity Committee in 1976, you know, International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement in 1990 or 1991, and many other organizations and campaigns. And this indictment is saying that suddenly in 2014, why that year, I don't know, there probably are reasons why, but they say in 2014, the chairman suddenly became a Russian agent. Now, we know that that is beyond, you know, I mean, it's absurd, but they make the law. They make the law, and so we're charged with one count, a violation of statute or whatever it is, code 951, in which it's saying that we did not register as a foreign agent. And we are charged with code number 371, conspiracy to commit offense or defraud the United States, which everybody who knows the African People's Socialist Party knows that in every single issue of the Burning Spear newspaper is the platform, what the party stands for. There is nothing that's conspiratorial. Everything is open and transparent. But yet they make the law. They make the colonial law, and they are so far serious about putting the chairman and myself and Jesse on trial. The trial has been set, as I said, and they're very serious. They want to put the chairman in prison. And we have to fight like hell because they cannot do that. We have to say the only thing that will push back this vicious state attack is the power of the people, the mobilization of hundreds and thousands of people to say, we stand between Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the state, you know, that we will push this back. And we can do that. So just to say, and I will close out, that the Hands Off Uhuru, Fight Back Coalition and the Uhuru Movement are holding, as we said, we want it to be a strong, powerful, massive rally. We think it's going to be across the street on Saturday, August 31st. We want to show the state that the people are out here. And then we want all out to the trial. We want it to be that nobody can get in that courtroom because it's packed, it's full. People are waiting outside, waiting on the steps of the courthouse there in Tampa. And we're, you know, we can fight and we are winning. And I also want to salute the comrades from Freedom Road Socialist Organization and others who are connected to that are here today, and members of the Young Lords as well. And just to say that this is a powerful time. I unite that it is the colonized peoples of the planet Earth who are fighting, who are winning, and it's powerful to stand on the forward side of history. And the state, they had no idea what they were doing when they tried to attack Chairman Omali Shatella, because he turned everything around into a victory for the African Revolution and the peoples on the planet Earth. So I'm going to say Uhuru, hands off Uhuru, hands off Africa. Uhuru.
Yeah, hands off Uhuru, hands off Africa. And they're very much connected. We talk about resources, how things get here. With this bogus charge, they are threatening Africa. And they're threatening the African nation. They're threatening the possibility of freedom. All of the institutions, economic and otherwise, all of the work that you do, they're threatening all of that. They want to disrupt it. They want people to be afraid of the Uhurus. Is that what they call it sometimes? The Uhurus. Because the implication of African people being self-determined, having the ability to feed, clothe, and house ourselves, completely will put Jeff Bezos, Joe Byron, and all those people, they would turn into nothingness. How is it gonna stand if the pedestal is kicked from under them? If there's no working class, there's no African person to do the dirty work, how will it ever stand? If they can't get the bananas, the cocoa, the diamonds, the bauxite, your body, your physical labor, all of that is, Chairman has seen through all of that, and he's analyzed it. It's in the books. I'm listening to an audiobook. I've made an audiobook. Stolen Black Labor. A brilliant book. I mean, it's sometimes you just have to reread certain lines because it challenges everything that you might hear from, someone who typically, they try to villainize or vilify the colors red, black, and green. We talk about the war of ideas and what red, black, and green means. They try to villainize or vilify Marcus Garvey. But it's never gonna die. And in the 1960s, they fought, COINTELPRO fought and defeated us. The Black Revolution of the 1960s was defeated, and it's one, I heard a comrade say it's tough to admit that. Tough to admit it, but the chairman was able to analyze, re-strategize, mobilize, organize people so that we can move forward and still connected to Africa. Still give you a reason to understand why Africa is important. And that's a big question, especially for a lot of Africans. Why Africa? Why? Who am I? The self-identity questions. And that's why it's more than just what Chairman says, it's what Chairman does. It's how he's organizing things. Even outside of this country, in South Africa, in Europe, all over, it's incredible. And Penny, you're right. They're going to have a hell of a time during September 3rd because it's going to be packed. We got people booking flights, getting rooms, carpooling, caravanning. Everybody is getting together because they will not see this coming. It's going to be around the block. Everybody standing in solidarity. And when they see this, they know it's going to be a long, hot summer. It's going to be a long, hot summer. Uhuru! And with that, I'm going to go to
Thank you so very much. First of all, it's really glad to see everybody here. And Freedom Road Socialist Order, I'm really happy that you're here. One of the first organizations out of the gate to stand in solidarity in this fight back. And you heard me reference Carl Devine here. And I did that because he's an old soldier. And by which I mean, I don't mean like John MacArthur. You're too young to pick up on that reference, but he was in the trenches with us, you know, especially after that attack in 1996 that was made. And he helped to organize in this city the first St. Petersburg Black Community Convention. Then we organized it right here at Dinner Call. And something like 400 African people came out, and we put together our own agenda for moving this Black community forward. He was here when we forced all of the economic institutions in the city to come and meet with the Black community. We forced them to have to re-examine their policy, public policy of police containment. We said that it's a negative public policy. It has to be changed and made into a public policy of economic development for Black people. He was here when we marched down the streets demanding economic development for Black people. I didn't see a Russian inside. I don't know if any Russians were here or not. And that's one of the reasons I'm harping on this with Carl Devine. Also, I think it's really important. I wanted to acknowledge our dear comrade, Janice Camp. Yeah, she is quite surprised to hear this Now, one reason it's important to mention Janice Camp is because of her pedigree. And her grandfather participated in the Russian Revolution. You understand? And was a formidable force. I mean, this is the pedigree that we're talking about. People have been struggling to overturn this system of oppression for a very long time without being paid by the Russians or anything like that. When you oppress somebody, you should expect that you're going to have a fight. In fact, I think that the rulers of this country and this world wake up every morning surprised that there's not an uprising, rebellion someplace in the world, because we're fighting back and the world is fighting back. I wanted to also say, Jaina here, who almost introduced you to her grandfather, she has great pedigree too. You know, her father, Biko Lumumba, was a heroic figure in terms of organizing there in Oakland, California, as the leader of our work in Oakland, California. Her mom, Kenya, has been a magnificent, has been a magnificent force in this movement. They grew up in this movement. These are red, black, and green diaper babies that I'm talking about now. They've been in this struggle for a very long time. And what they want to do is push us backwards in history so that we find ourselves fighting again to overcome and integrate or some other kind of nonsense like this that diverts us from our real responsibility to become a self-governing people, to take back our power for ourselves. And that's really important. I think that part of what I'm also saying that this system, this government, the people who preside over the system are concerned about is when we can begin to introduce science into this struggle that we're involved in, as opposed to superstition, as opposed to assuming that things happen because we don't have good leaders who make good speeches or something to that effect. But there is a science, there's a basis for this contradiction. And we want to get to the origin of it, because if you don't understand what's caused it, you can't stop it. You can't overturn it, you can't end it. And it has to be the objective. You can get on a treadmill and you can turn up the treadmill as fast as it can go. And you can run and get sweaty, pass out on the treadmill and never go anyplace. And we've seen our movement at different times take on that kind of trajectory. Get on the treadmill, work hard, do heroic things, etc., in the process of trying to get out of here, but there is no to what end. You protest, to what end? That's the question that we are confronted with, and that's the question that we try to resolve, and that's why we say it's really important for us to understand, everybody has to understand that you cannot make revolution. You can do rebellion, But you cannot make revolution without revolutionary philosophy. Scientifically based revolutionary philosophy. That's absolutely necessary. We're talking here about comrades from the New Young Lords. The truth of the matter is, we participated with the Young Lords in New York City. We were there on the ground with one of the first major mobilizations that they did in New York City, where they had captured this hospital, where they were going to provide care for the people right there in New York City. They expected there were going to be 50 people there. We got there, they had something like 50,000 people. It blew their minds, blew everybody's mind. They succeeded in organizing Puerto Ricans in New York. I'm talking about the first participation of the Puerto Rican Socialist Party in this country was in this city. This city, no Russians. This city, African People's Socialist Party contributed to that development, trying to pull the whole international anti-colonial movement together. And it makes sense for that to happen. That's why it's so important for us to know about Africa. And this is not just some African nationalist conversation. I'm talking about the origin of the system. I'm talking about the attack in 1415 that Portugal made on Africa. Y'all know what Portugal is? Yeah, this entity that's almost not there. And the thing that gave it significance was this proximity to Africa. And because of this proximity to Africa, you heard all these stories about the great explorers from Europe trying to find where this part of the world was, getting to the east, going to the west. No, what they were looking for was where that gold came from in 1300 and something, that Musa, what's his name was? Mansa Musa came through, moving from Mali all the way going into Egypt. He had an entourage of something like 60,000 people who came on horses and camels. They had more gold than anybody had ever seen. They almost crashed the economy of Egypt because they were giving away so much gold on the way there. This is what they were looking for. Where the hell did this gold come from? Because you saw in the 1300s, there was a time where Europe was so impoverished. And this is a little bit true. You're talking about when we met Europe and Europeans, the people who call themselves Americans and things like that, when we met them, they were living under what? Feudal system. They had no freedom, and they didn't even have nutmeg. That's why the story they tell you that we had to go and looking for spices, like most times just knock on your door, can I borrow some nutmeg? But no, these cats, and you knew they were hungry if they get on a ship and didn't know if they sailed, they were going to fall off the earth and not looking for nutmeg. That was a poor entity there. That was not some wealthy entity that it likes to present itself as being. So it was a starving, oppressed group of people that had not even become Europe. These were fiefdoms in contention with each other, enslaving each other, etc., warring with each other, etc., until Portugal. And Portugal made that movement on Africa, looking for the gold of Mansa Musa, like all of them. And they began to traverse this coast, etc. And this is the process that initiated the colonial project. And all of the people who call themselves Europe, who define themselves primarily in relationship to each other previously, they decided that they were one people. And what brought them together? What consolidated them together? Why not were there no longer just Goths and Visigoths and Normans and the rest of it and Celts? What happened? What happened was they discovered us. And their unity was based on what they could steal from the rest of us. And this is how we got to Puerto Rico. There was no Puerto Rico. It was the slave trade. It was colonialism based on slavery that took the Europeans to what we now call Puerto Rico, Cuba. All of the Americas and what happened was a project that initiated with Portugal's attack on Africa. So this is what pulled Europe together. This is why you see chaos in Europe now, because of the extent and intensity of the struggle of colonized people all around the world. The basis for the national coherence and cohesion is being destroyed by the struggles of oppressed peoples around the world to break out of this parasitic relationship. And Comrade Janema was making some comments just a moment ago that helped me to understand that this is something that's fraught with all kinds of contradictions for settlers and for colonizers, because they're gonna have to learn to play their own basketball. sing their own songs, make their own babies. I mean, cook their own food. Gonna be something. Yeah. That sounds torturous. You understand? But this is the contradiction that we're looking at. And so, in fact, I'm talking about science. You got to know where this thing came from if you're going to get rid of it, and you have to be to what end? To what end? What is it that you're fighting for? That has to be something that you are concerned with. And the U.S. government knows that we know what the hell we're fighting for. And if we win, when the colonized peoples of the world win, then somebody used to ask us all the time when we talk about black power, say, but what about the white people? We say, you're going to have to be like the rest of us. You're going to have to get a job, go pee in the bowl like everybody else, you understand? And get a job, finally. But the point is that there's one single social system that we all connected to. And our knowledge of being connected to this social system allowed us to be there in Ireland. These are white people in Ireland, living under British colonialism. First time in my life when in Ireland, this is the time Ireland was occupied. The first time in my life that I saw white people who lived under circumstantial conditions, just like black people here, blew my mind. Living in housing projects. I was picked up by coming from Ireland, two comrades. One, a man who had scars all of his neck, another woman who had been wounded, and these are people who had been shot by the British. I met people who had been hit with what they call rubber bullets. I used to think when I read about rubber bullets, something like Nerf balls. No. Rubber bullets, that cracked people's skulls and things like that, busted them up and what have you, that they used as Ireland. I was there. And so the point is, I was in Nicaragua. I was one of the first people we organized the first mobilization for Nicaraguans in the Bay Area of California, and had never met a Nicaraguan. But we knew they were part of the same struggle. They didn't have to send us an assignment. We knew the assignment, do what the hell we could to facilitate the struggle that Nicaraguans were making to win freedom. So once you understand where the system comes from, then you're informed to a huge extent about what it is you have to do. Anyway, so we are here now. And this is going to be a long, hot summer. And this is a beginning of this long, hot summer. Because we're going to continue to have these meetings, have these rallies, we're going to continue to organize. And we want to organize on the ground. This is the ground game now. And we have to put people in motion. If you've got skills and expertise, we want to use them to push this back. Our slogan has to be free to Uhuru, three of the sky's the limit. And so we are looking for forces to participate. We're starting already. We have people who've been out in the field in just a couple of days. We've we've passed out flyers to more than 1,000 houses in South St. Petersburg. And we're going to be doing it over and over and over again. We're going to be recruiting more and more people to participate in getting this propaganda out, getting this literature out, helping people to understand what it is that's going on, helping people to understand that they are trying to push us back into a presence of a time before the existence of the Uhuru movement, before the existence of the success of the Black Power movement. They want us to go back to those times when we're at the back door scratching, when we don't itch and shuffling and what have you, in order to please the colonizers of white people in general in this system. They don't want us to have freedom of thought, to be able to have free thought. They locked me up in Gainesville, Florida, 4 days after the murder of Martin Luther King, participating in a demonstration. And the first one arrested under the law that the state of Florida had created called inciting to riot. And it was no riot. They say under this law, it didn't have to be a riot. I just had to want there to be a riot. It was a thought crime. They literally locked me up. They literally intended to put me in prison, except we built movements and organizations and struggled to keep that from happening. We have to do that here. After they arrested us in July, in October, they arrested one of the people who were part of our organization. And then when they arrested him, they arrested him saying for making terroristic threats. What was his terroristic threats? He was working for the school board in St. Louis, and they were talking about not hiring him, so he got in an argument with them, and so there's terroristic threats. And when they locked him up, they sent FBI agents in there to just talk to him. They didn't talk about terroristic threats. They showed them pictures of Moscow, people in Moscow. Who is this? Who is this? Who is this? Then they wanted to know tellingly, what did the people think about these attacks that we made on you? Because that's the core thing. This has nothing to do with law in the sense that we violated some law. It is political struggle. It's a political attack that uses law to carry out these political objectives. And we're living at a time right now in this country and in the world where all of the legal system is being called into question, not just by us. It's a thing that's caused serious contradiction on the so-called right and the so-called left. Political trials abound. Trump just got convicted on 30-some-odd charges and facing more charges, possibly. You've got all kinds of people being possibly running into trial. You got people, the white people who were climbing the walls of the White House like spider people. In 1996, chasing the vice president down the hall, talking about killing him, lynching him, etc. This is the time that we're living in right now. We're living in a time where the United States is going extraordinarily anxious because they used to dominate the world for a while without too much competition from other international forces. Now they're concerned by Russia and China, who are intervening into spaces that they consider their own spaces. They're concerned about Venezuela because Venezuela is becoming increasingly influential in South America. They're concerned about Iran because Iran, the United States government overturned the government of Iran in 1954-55. They overturned the elected government of Mohammad Mossadegh and put the Shah, who oppressed the Iranian people there. They are murdering people in Palestine. The heroic Palestinian people who have been carrying the struggle against the colonized people on their shoulders all this time. This is a major era of contradiction that we're looking at. And they are upset because we've created more than 50 independent economic development projects throughout this country. The party has, because our objective is to do what? Is to negate colonialism. This is the colonial negating project. And how do you negate colonialism? By taking back control of the ability to feed, clothe, and house yourself, and do it in a fashion that predicts and promises self-government, to be a self-governing, dignified people, because you can't have dignity as a people as long as some foreign and alien controls your ability to feed, clothe, and house yourself, controls what your child is going to be able to have or not have. This is your children can't even make a good prediction of the future. Their brain locked into place by this colonial morass that's been locked onto us, and our children can't even see the sky because of this oppression. Well, we are opening up the sky. This is what it is that we are about. And so we're going to be doing work, and we want to sign people up. We want you to sign up. We want you to bring the Puerto Rican question to the streets of St. Petersburg, Florida. Bring the Cuba question. Bring the Palestinian question. Bring all of those questions on August 31st, right across the street here. We expect to see hundreds of people who are participating in this mobilization. Before then, we're going to be having rallies. We're going to have, and for the whole duration of the month long that they say this trial is going to last, we're going to have forums and rallies and things like that. We're going to re-energize and reorganize and reunify the whole struggle against colonialism that existed before they made this war against us that they're trying to extend with this oppression against us. I'm going to say this and shut up. The significance of Africa cannot be overstated. You don't read about it. They don't tell you Africa is significant. When they talk about what's going to happen in the world, they don't say Africa, 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 but this is what they've done. They've made a man named Lloyd Austin, who's a black man, former general. He's on the board of major arms corporations right now. They have made him the head of the Department of Defense, black man, of the U.S. Department of Defense. They made another man, I think his name is Charles Brown, something like that. They've made him over the joint from the Air Force, the Joint Chiefs of Staff. That is the head person over all of the military organizations in this country. They made another black man for the first time in history 246-year history, they made an African man a 4-star general and put him over Africa, the Africa Command, to control all of Africa, protecting Africa for them, from Africans and from China and Russia and the rest of it. This is the kind of stuff they're doing. Africa is central. And then they attack us because our relationship to Africa, in part, what is our relationship to Africa? For the first time since Garvey, you have a unified movement of Black people around the world struggling for the liberation and unification of Africa. We exist we're small. I'm not saying that we have some great power in terms of numbers and stuff like that, but our presence is there, our philosophy is there, our organization is there, and this is a profoundly important thing. And then finally, the question was raised, why would they start this thing in 2014 that they're doing against us? Well, it didn't start in 2014. They've been doing this since the 60s against me, against other people. But what did happen recently is that when you have this situation of contention, competition, now in the international arena with Russia, with China, etc., and then you have the African People's Socialist Party that's building the relationship with Africa and other colonized people, and the African People's Socialist Party steps forward and say that this war that has been initiated against Russia by the United States, using Ukraine as the vehicle to be able to do that, that we do not support that. In fact, we say that Russia is on the right side of the question, protecting itself from this dagger that the United States is trying to stab it in the heart with. This is what gave them a problem. This happened, when did they attack us? They attacked us in 2022. When did they attack Ukraine? When did this thing with Ukraine start? In 2022. And so shortly after we came out around the question of Ukraine, then they attacked us. They don't shut up, niggas. It's a vicious social system. And one of the most telling things about the nature of this system, of course, is the history and presence of African people here. And what has happened with the indigenous people here. And it's really important to say that because they want to treat the case of Leonard Peltier like they want to treat our case. They want to act like the case, the struggle that Leonard Peltier is engaged in just started some 50 years ago. They've had him in prison for almost 50 years. He's has all kinds of issues, physical and mental issues, etc., because of imprisonment. And that'll do it to you. Ask anybody living in the housing project. But the point is that this thing with indigenous people, because they are attacking, they say Leonard Peltier killed an FBI agent. We say he didn't do it, but should have. We said that the real deal is this is indigenous land. This war started a long time before they locked Leonard Peltier up. This war against the so-called Indians started a long time ago. But they want to stop history and make history something that began when the white people got involved on that reservation. And an FBI agent got killed. Like they want to make history start right now. Not anything else that's happened, not our history in this relationship. They want to have to start right now. And they want to start right now because the colonizer makes the law. The slave doesn't make the law. The slave master makes the law. The slave master does not make laws that favor the slave. The colonizers do not make laws that favor the colonized. They make laws to maintain the relationship between slavery and slavers and colonizers and colonized people. So let's go to work, y'all. Let's do this again next Sunday, but in the interim, let's go to work. Let's start doing things to get the word out, to let people know that this is happening. Let's organize the most extraordinary fight back they've ever seen. Let's say free the Uhuru, free of the sky's the limit. Hands off Africa. Hands off Uhuru.
Uhuru, I want to acknowledge St. Louis. If you all are present, I know that you're watching right now, and I just want to say, salute you, and to everybody. When you say to what end? It ain't the Democratic Party. Well, it's the African People's Socialist Party. But we all know Joe Byron. I say that jokingly. We know Joe Byron he can't deliver a speech like that, what you just heard. He can't organize, he can hardly put a sentence together. I made this book, Chairman, there's your face on it. And then this is the mural that he tore down at City Hall, right here in St. Petersburg, Florida. And Joe Biden can't even lift his arm up all the way. So to what end? Right here. And there's a lot of work going on. I know Chairman just delivered that brilliant presentation, but there's work that does need to go on until the next week, until Africa is free. And we need resources, human and material. We need you to be here. We need you to volunteer. And we need to raise money. Even in this meeting right now, we need to raise at least $500 for flyers. So I really want to put a call out for resources. Do we have a basket that we can take out? Because we want to start a call for resources. We have work that needs to be done, and we need to get started immediately. And I also want to make a couple announcements. Yeah, make an announcement, please.
I just wanted to let people know that in the back of the road is coming a Black Malcolm.
That's right.
And Black Malcolm is a lawyer, and he was the lawyer for Akile Nanayi, who was also one of the unindicted co-conspirators. And they decided not to mess with life. And so up to now, they haven't charged Akile. But I just wanted to let you know that Kermit Life is in the back, and he's been here all this time. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Uhuru, thank you, Chairman.
Yeah. And we talked about money because when they attacked us on July 29th, they did something like $40,000 worth of damage. And in terms of doors and things that they knocked in terms of materials that they stole, cell phones, laptops, etc. Windows broken. They did something like $40,000 damage. We got a great positive lawyer, but we had to spend almost $300,000 up to now just in legal fees. So this is not just a casual discussion that we're talking about in terms of resources. So it's really important.
Yes, it is. And we've got, you mentioned this earlier, Chairman, but August 31st, we got the not one step backwards, drop the charges against the Uhuru 3 on Saturday. Everybody's going to be coming to St. Pete. It's from 1 to 4 p.m. right across the street from the Uhuru House. We've got the trial date, save the date, September 3rd. Tell a friend, bring a friend. We're going to pack the courthouse. We're going to put the state on trial. And I mean, it's a really tremendous case. It's a really historic case. Yeah. Cash App is to, is it hands off Uhuru? Cash App, let's do this. We know that you can go to handsoffuhuru.org, and we know that you can donate there. So let's make sure if you can't have a cash donation, let's make sure you get a donation in. Just come and see me afterwards too. Uhuru comrades, I appreciate the donations. We'll tally that up soon. And I just want to make sure that we know where the trial is going to be. It's going to be at the Tampa Division Courthouse. It's going to be where? The Middle District of Florida Courthouse. I heard Penny, I appreciate that. Yeah. The trial starts at 9 a.m. Right or first thing in the morning, 9 a.m.
It just started.
Okay. Yeah. And then on Wednesday, June 26th. Oh, I'm sorry. For solid, is this updated?
What is that?
I had have the APSC committee, they did the June 26th. Did you all do the June 26th, action? Yeah, all right.
Here.
Saturday, July 27th. Where's it located? Is it on the web?
Yes, it's on the
Okay, so handsoffuhuru.org. Okay, Uhuru. Yeah. So that's a lot of work going on. At this point, we would typically move into the culture, but I want to go ahead because we're pressed for time, and we've reached our time limit here. But I just want to make sure that everyone is agitated and understands what we have going on. I want you to book the chairman. Let people know that they can book the chairman. We need to get interviews, as many as possible. We are reaching out. I'm sure you've seen all of the media press that's been going on around this case. We want to keep that going. So you can book the chairman to the campus that you're at or that you attend school at in your city, and defend our right to build political and economic power in the hands of the African community. And that's, you can contact us at info@uhurutours.com. You can call 727-914-3621. And then on Sundays at 9 a.m. Central Time, which is 10 a.m. Eastern, on YouTube and Facebook, on live right here in the Aquaba Hall, we have the O'Malley Taught Me political education series. And so, yeah, we really need your help in building the rallies. I want to make a call for people to participate in Karamo, which is a potluck. So sign up at the table and just put your name down, take a sheet. And I'm going to close out with a chant that I grew up with. And it goes, Israel Africa, Uhuru.
Well, are you still in line? Good, good. I hope we keep seeing each other.